Welcome to a Blood and Pigment ship review. I'm Joseph.
I am Guy, and we also have a special guest this week.
Hello, I'm Dan.
Welcome to Boat Week.
Today we will be discussing the Longboat from Blood and Plunder. This boat costs 3 points.
The Longboat's max speed is 4 inches. It has a sail setting for 3 inches, 0 inches, and anchored. Its windward value is -1. The Longboat has a turn value of 3 inches.
The Longboat's hull fortitude is 2, and its hull integrity is 3, the same as the canoa. It takes 3 hits to drop the fortitude to 1.
The Longboat can hold up to 13 models.
You can mount a single swivel gun on the bow of the Longboat.
This boat has sweeps 4, low profile, and ship's boat special rules.
This is an okay boat, but do not fight ships in longboats.
It will go badly for you.
Very badly.
I've done it. I did it in the beginning with a pair of longboats fighting a brigantine. That was actually my first sea game, was against Joseph in a pair of longboats against his brigantine.
I remember
Ouch.
that.
Yeah.
Didn't you board me though? You came straight on with one of your longboats. I feel like
I came
got some
straight
pain
on
there.
with both of my longboats. My command longboat, you blasted and sank while the other one boarded you.
that sounds about right.
Poor guy just got promoted.
Yeah. You had an officer, right?
Oh no, it was far before officers.
Longboat was the first boat introduced to the game, came out with the first Kickstarter. Yeah, I don't use it very much. I kind of prefer the canoe if I want a little boat, or a piragua if I want a big boat. Although I have thought about it, and in theory, the Longboat could be better for native factions, which seems all kind of backwards.
Yeah, because you would give the longboats paddles. So
Right.
it does everything the canoe has without being unstable.
Exactly. So that seems like a really good trade-off, actually. You can hold more models if you want. You have rigging to get destroyed, so you get less damage. You could put up sails. You have paddles if you want. No unstable.
They're slightly more safe, is what I'm hearing.
Slightly more safe for natives. If you have other factions, you have to rely on the rigging, which means you have to be careful of your direction.
And the windward penalty of -1 means that upwind, or if you're going windward, you are traveling as quickly as a galleon and flute, which means not quickly at all.
2.
Yeah, 2. It is nice having the sail setting on this, because especially for smaller games, it lets you kind of like pretend that you have paddles and move around without anybody on sweeps.
Or if you're doing an amphibious game and you know you can just sail straight downwind the whole time, you just pop those up and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just hit the beach and jump.
Mm-hmm. I often deploy my longboats when I played them with sails.
Up.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning the model itself doesn't have a mast or sails, but it's not hard to add them if you want.
No, it is not hard at all. This is a nice model too. I wish that they took the extra step with it to add some of the longboat details, like planking for seats on the inside, but it was really satisfying to do that on my own model.
I didn't, just so I could fit guys in easier.
Mhm.
The nice clear deck makes it a lot easier getting models in and out if you want to fill it to its max capacity.
Yeah, it does.
But yours does look cool.
Yeah, and I still get guys above. I put them on the seats, standing, so I have models that are like, a fourth of an inch higher than other ones.
Sit down, Francois. You're going to fall overboard.
Also, it's worth mentioning that it can take a swivel, which would be beneficial in any game, at least under 100 points. Anything over that, it kind of loses its touch.
Yeah, having a whole unit assigned to that one swivel is a little painful, unless you're doing a tiny game.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen that work.
Now, I could imagine if you're running an amphibious scenario, you're running toward the beach, that might give you time to clear out a nicer spot if you're pushed. But I can't see it being anything more than 100 points. I can't see it being any more useful.
Yeah, probably not.
If you had a unit that had at least 8 models they could half fire with muskets, let's assume. They could half fire, and then you could also have them assigned to swivel, so you could fire the swivel. But paying 4 points for a swivel on the bow of the longboat just to park it on the sand and jump out, really, it's a waste of points.
Yeah, you just want to have this as either a platform for shooting off of or just a cheap way to get from A to B.
Because at that point, you're 1 point away from a bark, so...
Yeah.
And the bark is better?
Yes, much.
I would rather take 4 longboats four 2 longboats or 4 canoes than a bark.
Wouldn't you rather take a millstone than a bark, though? I don't think you're unbiased.
Yeah, right, I would. I would rather take a hastily assembled clump of boards floating on the water than a bark.
We'll get to the bark soon enough. Obviously, you don't want to get hit with the ship when you're using a boat. We talked about that. You mentioned
you don't want to be rammed.
You don't want to be rammed.
You really don't want to cross that T.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really not a lot else to it. This low profile, we haven't really talked about it, but it just makes it harder to hit with cannons, which is nice because getting
with
hit with cannons is very painful. But if you do get hit, you're pretty much toast. You're going to get a critical really fast. It just takes 3 hits to give yourself a critical.
That's assuming it doesn't turn your models into chum.
Right.
The ship also, with the skid being the little rope that's hanging on the side, compared to the other boats, it doesn't have a clever turning mechanism. You always have to use that rope that's hanging from the side to turn with the longboat.
That is a bit of a disadvantage, isn't it? That we talked about. It doesn't have unstable. That's good. It doesn't have ship's boat.
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
Yeah. They've errated the longboat to include ship's boat. And no piece to be on the line. So this is the card from the website isn't updated with the current rules.
There's several cards like that. So for $18, do you consider this a good early purchase or something you want to add to your fleet later? Or what would you recommend for when and how many of these to add to a standard fleet?
There is one scenario in No Peace Beyond the Line that requires a longboat, and I believe that if you're at the 8th or 7th ship that you've bought, you should buy a longboat.
8th or 7th.
8th or 7th ship.
It also is a great just terrain feature too, even if you don't use it a lot. If you just do an amphibious or just a land game that has a beach or something, having it pulled up to a dock or on the shore makes your board look real good too. So even if you don't plan to sail it a ton, it has value.
And on top of that, there's several factions that don't allow you to take more than size 2 ships. So if you're playing a landing force like Dutch Navy or the English Navy, you can use those in your amphibious scenarios if that's what you're into.
And the longboat looks more correct having regulars in it than a canoe, right? Or a piragua for that matter.
Irregulars are scary.
Expertly drilled. Anything else to add here?
I think that covers it.
I think we hit everything on the head.
If you want to see more pictures and more detailed analysis of Longboat in action, you can go over to bloodandpigment.com, and there's an article devoted to the Longboat, in addition to all the other ships and boats in Blood and Plunder. You also can find all sorts of articles about the nationalities, factions, terrain building, painting guides, and battle reports. Everything is over there. Go check it out.
With that, this has been another Blood and Pigment ship review. Keep your dice ready and the wind at your back.